Hello everyone, this is Robin from Demute. Today I'm here to make a quick video about the Metasound preset and patches pack that we've recently released for free on Fab that you guys can go and get. So what is the point of this pack? Well, Metasounds is a very powerful design environment where you can make a lot of really cool stuff. However, when you're working in audio implementation for video games, you're usually reusing the 10 or so designs. So to make sure you have time to design the more complex ones that need to be handcrafted, this pack um, gives you a bunch of these common designs pre-made. So let's take a look. Obviously, everything comes with documentation here, which have installation instructions, how to use, debugging, etc., as well as a list of all the included presets. Now, they're not actually presets. We'll get to that in just a second. But let's go through them. There's 10 in this current version. Let's go through them one by one. So we have a simple one-shot, which is very self-explanatory. A random one-shot chooses randomly between an array of one-shots. You have obviously pitch variation for all of these. A simple loop with fade in and fade out. A random loop will choose a random loop to play. A switch, which will play a one-shot depending on a switch value that you input. This is mostly used, for example, for footsteps, to whether to play concrete, dirt, etc. footsteps. This will depend on the switch value. A flip-flop, which is a Metasound that switches between two wave players that crossfades between them on the band. You decide when they switch. State loops, which are a list of loops and kind of like a switch who will play depending on the set state. And if states change as they are playing, they will crossfade into the new state loop. A shuffle playlist, which just shuffles a playlist of songs. An advanced loop, which is a loop that has a startup and a shutdown one-shot. And a scatter, which randomly places up to 8 one-shots at the same time around you. This is mostly used for ambience work. We have another one in the works that should be released in the next version, which is a loop by distance. So you can set a far loop, a medium loop, and a close loop, and these distances. And as the listener gets closer to the emitter, depending on the distance, it will fade through the different loops. Now, what does the plugin actually look like when you get it? So when you install the plugin, you have these 4 folders. We'll get to the actor components in a second. But the main thing are the source graph. This is where all the Metasound logic is. Let's take a look at the advanced loop mono, for example. Now, these graphs are usually quite verbose. And so this is where the logic is, but I don't actually work in these source graphs a lot of the time. So the source graphs are mostly there to be added as nodes into your own logic. So for example, we have advanced loops, the mono and the stereo version. We have the loop by distance, which is the new one, mono or stereo version. And when you're obviously looking at these up, you have a tooltip that tells you what is going on. And for each of the inputs, you have a tooltip. For each of the outputs, these are all the debug outputs, but for each of the normal outputs, you have a tooltip and all the debug outputs as well. So since they're so verbose, how do I actually work? Well, I work in what I like to call containers. So containers, let's go for the advanced loop mono, actually take this advanced loop node in the center and then are set up in a way that I like to work. There's a couple advantages of doing it this way. First of all, if you actually there's a bug or you need to change something in the advanced loop logic, you're going to change it here, and all of the actual advanced loops that you're using in your game all point to this node, so their logic will be updated automatically as well. Now you may be thinking, why not just use Metasound presets? I don't like working with Metasound presets because when you need to change that, first of all, everything looks ugly here. You can't work directly in the Metasound graph. You have to work everything here. And whenever you need to change value, you need to click on 3 buttons, override parent, and then change the value. I just feel like it's not very... it doesn't really... I don't like working in presets. I like being able to see visually what's going on, all the values here. I like everything to be straight, and I like to just be able to switch things directly on the node. So that's why I like to use containers. You can see that not all of the inputs are connected. This is because, like I said, it's more like intuitive for me to be able to set an asset here directly in here, especially when there's only one asset. So obviously when there's arrays, you have to use the stuff on the side. But for every time you have like an int or a boolean, just being able to check things directly into the node itself makes more sense to me. So how do you actually use the containers? Well, what I would do at the beginning of a project is I would, obviously you can use the source graphs in your own nodes, but I would go to my containers, and for each of these you can batch edit. I would set the default class, like a generic class, a generic submix, and a generic attenuation settings, so that whenever you're creating a new Metasound, they already have a base sound class submix set that you can change on need later. So let's do, for example, take for example a state loop mono. So what you would do is, okay, you have your containers folder. I need to make a new state loop, so I would copy the state loop, I would paste it here. Delete this one. I would rename it. Let's say this is MSS music states. Like that. So you come in and you come with your you come into this container, and so the way the state loops work is you have an array of wave assets, and you send in a state value, and so whatever is at index 0 when the active state is 0 will play 0, the active state is 1 it will play 1, etc. And so you can and they would automatically crossfade at runtime. So let's put a couple wave assets in there. I don't need to delay this. Let's go to testing assets. Let's go for these 3. If I manage to drag and drop them. Okay, you know what? There we go. So now we have our assets. So at runtime, we should be able to have stuff that's happening. And so another cool thing about all these presets is that they're all compatible. They all have these debug outputs. All the presets have these debug outputs that are compatible with the debug tool that I made, which I'm going to show you how it works right now. So now you've made your state loop, right? Your music state. So just put this in here. And we need to open the blueprint. Let's get a reference to U. Perfect. So that we can change the states at runtime. It's very cool to do something messy. And the parameter that we want, state value, I believe is what it's called. Let's check. State value, yeah. So that when we're pressing the numpads, we can switch between the values for testing purposes. Okay, so what is the actual debugging tool? How does it work? So in the plugin folder, you have the source graph, which we talked about, the containers, which we talked about. You have a couple of actor components, and the most important one is this one, the Metasound debugging tool. So if you drag it onto here, which we can't see because my windows are all fucked up, right here, we have now added this debugging tool. And so what this debugging tool does is, as we're playing in real time, it's going to show up in the top left. It's going to show which wave file is currently playing, the playback, like where in the playback that file is. You can have it show the path of the file as well if needed. You can change the color of the text, and it will also showcase a bunch of events to you of what is happening. So every time we change state, it's gonna text is gonna show up. Every time we crossfade, we start, we fade, etc. So let's go in right now, and I'll showcase it to you. So you can see top left, we've faded in, and we have the current playing wave file is the arrow of time with the playback, and now this is a loop, so it's gonna loop. You see that it didn't start at the beginning because one of the options in the Metasound itself, which we can go take a look, is that you can have it to choose a random start time in the file. So now if we change state, crossfade started, crossfade completed, and now we've the current playing wave file as updated to show which one is currently playing. We can change state again, the last one. And so this is a showcase of the debugging tool. And every single Metasound source graph has all these debug outputs. They're all the list of event update messages that can show up are in the documentation. The only thing that we really haven't touched about are the patches. Now, there's a couple of patches that may be useful to you. These are mostly patches that I made to be useful to me while making the source graphs, but a couple of them could be useful to you when making your own source graph, notably like get a random start time, you send it to wave asset, and it will return a start time between 0 and the asset's duration. You can do a time crossfade, so crossfade between two audio tracks takes a certain amount of time, and a trigger select overflow. So if the index is higher than 7, it will trigger the overflow trigger and give you back the overflow value. So yeah, in general, this is just a small pack of presets and patches that we, as audio implementers and integrators, use very often. They're compatible with the debugging tool, so if there's anything ever going wrong inside your Metasound that you don't know what, you can debug it at runtime. The debugging tool you can make compatible with your own custom Metasounds. There's stuff in the documentation about how to do that. Everything's in the documentation. So yeah, that's the Metasound presets and patches pack.